Tossed around by Mother Nature's fury, a 40-foot catamaran ripped from its mooring is pulled out to sea.
It just sucked its way out through the opening.
The likelihood of waves breaking over the boat was very high. There was no sign of it at all, gone. And my estimation at that stage, it was in Davy Jones's locker.
Hi, I'm Brent Vaughan and welcome to Sabbaticals, where we bring you detailed boat demonstrations, strategies to accelerate ownership and key skills to help you go cruising sooner. Subscribe to start doing rather than dreaming. An east coast low dumped torrential rain on the south coast of New South Wales, flooding the Shoalhaven River, where a Seawind 1190 Sport Pirate King was moored and subsequently washed out to sea with some spectacular footage on the way. So today we're interviewing Doug Jackson to find out exactly what happened.
Hi, I'm Doug Jackson. My boat is the Seawind 1190 Sport Pirate King.
So why did you buy the 1190 Sport?
I wanted to get a boat that gave me the opportunity to get onto the water quickly with one-handed operation, single-handed sailing. I encouraged my wife to come sailing with me when we first looked at it, and of course she fell in love with the prospect of the roominess of the boat, the accessibility. It wasn't to race the boat, it was more to use as a coastal cruising exercise. Shallow draft was important to me because I always had in mind that the Shoalhaven would be one of my destinations, and just the fact that with the daggers up and the rudders up, we're talking about less than 2 feet of draft was important to me, and the sailability of the boat in a short-handed condition was also attractive.
So tell us about the property at Shoalhaven River.
It's got a frontage of 120 odd metres, 130 metres to the river right opposite Shoalhaven Heads. It's an area of shallow water, and the Shoalhaven River is usually closed at the river mouth, and every now and again, particularly at flood times, the river mouth opens and all of a sudden the island is in fact an island with no access, no land access at all.
What were the events that unfolded leading up to the boat being washed away?
The first east coast low came through in this batch at the end of July or early August. They dumped a lot of rain on the Shoalhaven and everything was terribly wet down there. The second east coast low came through just after the first week of August, and we had a massive amount of rain, massive rainfall between where we are on the coast at Comerong Island and Berry, which is just in off the coast, was somewhere in the range of 500 mils in 2 days. So I went to bed on the Sunday night. There was no significant movement in the river at all, but by the time I woke up at 6:15 on the Monday morning, the river was flowing at 10 knots, and the boat may have been hit with a floating log. There are plenty of logs, everything up to a metre in diameter, kicking down the river at this stage. It's watching the debris going past our property was quite exciting.
So it's pretty incredible footage of the boat being washed out through the torrential flooding. Tell us what happened.
Fortunately, I had a phone call from a friend across the river who said, "Your boat's just gone," and he said, "I'll see what I can do." He then hopped into a rubber ducky with a friend of his and attempted to get a tow rope onto the bow of Pirate King. They were unable, before the conditions became diabolically dangerous, they were unable to secure the boat and couldn't do anything about it. Interestingly, when they recognised that they couldn't help, the boat was very close to the mouth of the river, and it nudged into the riverbank on the northern side, and we had a friend in Shoalhaven Heads who was able to get on board at that time, ring me on the phone and say, how do I deploy the anchor? I told him not to worry about the main anchor, but to get the reserve anchor, which was immediately there at the bow, which he did. And he deployed, he threw the anchor overboard, hopped off and tried to secure it into the riverbank, only to see the river flow and the boat pull the anchor away. But what happened then was that the progress of the boat through 10 knots of outgoing river water and 3 metres of southerly swell, or southeast swell, it was unbelievably rough. The confluence of those two factors just created a washing machine environment where occasionally you couldn't see the boat. You could see the mast, but you certainly couldn't see any of the boat's superstructure behind the swell, the breaking waves. Just had to watch until the boat went out of sight past Shoalhaven Heads. And so it took me over an hour to get to the southern opening of the heads, where I could actually see the boat. And by that stage the boat was 500 metres offshore. Because of the anchor that had been deployed, it was just sitting there bobbing up and down between the shore break and the bomboras that were basically closing out the bay in between Girard and Crookhaven Heads. The boat was just watching the angle that the various photographs I've taken of how the boat managed the surf there. Fortunately, at that point in time, the waves weren't breaking over the boat, and it was in this sweet spot held by the anchor. But I then took more photographs of the boat at 5 o'clock that night, which was 5 or 6 hours later, and it was then at that stage 1 kilometre offshore. And the problem is the bay is very shallow, and I was quite sure that when I woke up the following day that they would have had to have gone through a low tide situation where the likelihood of waves breaking over the boat was very high. So I went to bed thinking it was all over, Red Rover. So I got up first light on the Tuesday morning and went up to find the boat, and there was no sign of it at all, gone. And my estimation at that stage, it was in Davy Jones's locker.
So was the boat recovered?
At 8:30 that morning I got a phone call from the water police, and they told me that they had the boat under tow. It was located off Stack Island at Minamurra, and they were taking it to Port Kembla. How the boat managed to travel through just the most extraordinarily difficult conditions and stay off the rocks between Giroa and Minamurra, I can't imagine how that happened. Past the blowhole and 50 kilometres, 40 to 50 kilometres I reckon. Amazing stuff.
What damage occurred to the boat?
A lot of debris outside on the deck area. There was a lot of timber and branches and small stuff. But basically, I'm just amazed at how well it came through.
You just had it hauled out structurally?
Yes, we've had it on the hard this morning, and no evidence of any underside damage at all, other than where there's some of the anti-foul scraped off from where it touched the shore at Shoalhaven Heads. I have great confidence in the boat, and once again, I'm not really surprised that it's held up as well as it has. I'm very pleased to say that my experience has sort of given me a good sense of comfort with the seaworthiness of the vessel.
Well, here's the boat, and incredibly it's in fantastic condition. I mean, considering what it's just been through, there's virtually not a scratch on the boat to be seen. The only damage that has essentially been caused from going through those rapids is a cracked acrylic hatch here. But apart from that, I mean, the boat is virtually untouched. The Seawind 1190 Sport is constructed using resonant fusion technology with foam core throughout, resistant to impact. With decks and furniture fiberglass together as a monocoque and highly robust structure. Seeing what this boat has gone through is proof that it's one heck of a tough boat.
One point I'd like to make is that the contribution from the volunteer marine rescue at Shell Harbour and at Port Kembla, who were able to get a tow rope onto the boat in the most extraordinary conditions, and then managed to get it to Port Kembla for me. That was a fantastic job, and I'm very grateful to them.
For more information on the Seawind 1190 Sport, click the link below. To see a walkthrough video of this boat, click here. And don't forget to subscribe.